If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and so many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and have fun.
I'm so excited and I just can't fight it. I'm about to puff, pass, and I like it.
Welcome to Puff Puff Pass, the podcast. This week we have Alex Jeffers of Word Life Yoga. He leaves us with a special little ditty at the end, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. What is up?
Yo, Kate.
Yo, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Yo, top of the we made
Top
it.
of the evening to you. Welcome to Puff Puff Pass. World meet Alex Jeffers. Alex Jeffers meet the world.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the little introduction there. It's,
Thanks.
glad to be here. Glad to be here. I think improv is the best way to do. I don't want to say anything because there's levels to a lot of things. Maybe everything there's levels to, but I feel like improv for something like an intro might be the best way to go about it. So I dig it.
Right. I think my whole life is improvisation. So, Alex, Word
Feel that.
Life Yoga.
That is it. Word Life Yoga.
Yoga, meditation, kettlebells.
Yo. Yeah. It's been an interesting little journey. This it's quite literally a business, an LLC. So this business that I've been, I guess, now running for just over 4 years as a 200-hour certified registered yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga classes. I sort of kind of pivoted a couple of years ago over to the kettlebell world. I was never a weightlifter. And then, just going down rabbit holes, at a local gym one day that I used to teach yoga at, I discovered kettlebells, and I saw that the gym had a whole rack of kettlebells, and there was an indoor gym or a indoor track where I could just go to the corner and get away from everybody and just kind of do my own thing. Because not that I don't like gyms, because I go to a gym now and I work out with a lot of people. I do group classes, do my own thing on the side, but it was always put myself in the corner, indoor track. There would be like 3 people in there. I was just telling someone this today. This was like my start to kettlebells, and I would just sort of figure it out in the corner. But yeah, it's been a nice little journey, this Word Life Yoga. And it's funny, about a month or so ago, somebody asked me that, they said Word Life, and I was like, yeah. They said, does that have anything to do with religion? Because it's connected to, I believe, Christianity, but one of the religions, in the titles of some churches, you'll see Word Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to tell this person, no, it's not acquainted with any kind of religion. It is quite simply the term Word Life. I listen to a lot of hip hop music, and I would hear it in a lot of Wu-Tang Clan songs. A rapper from Brooklyn, New York, named Big L. Another guy named OC from the DITC crew. Lord Finesse from New York, and at least Big L was not from Brooklyn. Excuse me. I think I got that incorrect. But nonetheless, Harlem. He's from Harlem. But nonetheless, they would use this term called Word Life, or Word Life, in a lot of their songs, and they in the recordings. And I'd always be like, yo, that's just is that a different way to say word? Like when people say, oh, word, like I'm going to the store. Oh, word. I was always like, is Word Life a different way to say that? So I looked it up, and of course, you can always trust on Urban Dictionary. when you Google, any kind of like slang word that you hear pretty much anywhere, I feel like. Um,
Yeah.
and and sure enough, word life was one of the first searches on the um, the Google search for Urban Dictionary, and the definition they gave was word on my life. So ever since I saw that definition, I fell even more in love with that phrase, word life, because I was like, shit. I was like, all right, like I feel like hip hop, rappers, hip hop artists are part storytellers. So I started taking that word life and listening to it more.
Cool.
Yeah, so my understanding or perspective of the word just sort of grew in that sense from Urban Dictionary of all places. So the name Word Life Yoga, I just put that phrase in front of yoga because plain and simple, yoga has been just a practice that I picked up. Now, let's see, it was January of 2014 when I started doing yoga. And so, oh my gosh, a little over 7 years, almost 8 years now, I've been personally practicing yoga. And
Hmm.
it's really helped. Again, plain and simple, it's really helped me with just like the basic, um, the basic idea or principles of discipline and like a method to sort of like you know for me it's more of a mental practice than it is a
Yeah.
physical air quotes asana practice when you're
Hmm.
doing the actual poses. But yeah, it's been one of those things that really helped me with my anxiety, some depression, um, that I, sort of carry around with me at certain times, in my life. Because if you know anxiety and depression, it's one of those things that's always fluctuating. And
Right.
yoga, the practice of yoga, and I love that it's a practice, has been there for me, and it's been a thing that I don't like to get culty with it per se, but I'm all about just like telling people, hey, I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't believe in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, so I put the word of yoga on my life, and
I
and
get it. I get
yeah,
it.
yeah, I put the word of yoga on my life. So hence word life yoga to wrap up that little explanation.
Cool.
But yeah, here we are in 2021, word life yoga.
Awesome. Kind of yoga do you teach?
So primarily, I'm trained formally for my 200-hour training in Vinyasa yoga. So primarily, I teach when I'm teaching like a public class, I'll do in all levels Vinyasa class. My public classes have been not like scaled back, but definitely a little less than they have been over the last few years. But right now, I'm teaching just two separate all levels Vinyasa classes right now in the East Falls and Manayunk area, which is within the Philadelphia zip code here in Pennsylvania. So that's what I teach. That's what I'm trained in. I do have not no formal training in restorative or Yin yoga, but I teach restorative yoga classes at a local gym as well. So that's something that I really enjoy when it comes to yoga. But yeah, Vinyasa yoga, the flow style, I'm a little ADHD. I always need to sort of like move around. So the whole Vinyasa flow has always resonated with me to just keep moving.
Cool, cool breeze.
Yeah.
So, do you have a breath workshop as well that you teach or breathe?
hmm So I
Breath.
taught I've taught breath workshops for sure. And the latest one I did was, oh my goodness, this is now back in back in April. Excuse me, just drinking kombucha over here.
You're good.
Um, Back in April of 2021, and it was at a local gym here in the Manayunk area called Fire for Effect Athletics. Um, and it was a really just a simple breath workshop. When I teach these, and I've only ever done, oh my goodness, what was it, two workshops, breath workshops in my life. But when I teach them, it's really simple workshops. Nasal breathing. We sometimes practice the ujjayi breath, which is a breath control practice, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
that is practiced in yoga classes. But really, when I teach a breath workshop, it is more of a meditation class than anything. So it's just focused on like where you notice your breath, in the lungs, the diaphragm. I like to work like a three-part breath, different methods. So Breath workshops are not like a specialty of mine, but when it comes to like an introduction of yoga,
Mm-hmm.
I like to let people know that, hey, like for sure the asanas, like the poses,
Mm-hmm.
they're one thing of the practice, but also I'm a big believer in breathing as being part of the main component of yoga. And when you're doing asanas in yoga class, it's like this whole concept of breathing through tension and your diaphragmatic breathing, nasal, like I mentioned, nasal breathing, and really the understanding of building a rhythm and like a pattern
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to your breath for seated, lying down meditation, or whether it's like a moving meditation. You know, so
Uh-huh. I already feel relaxed. So,
uh yeah, we can whenever you want if we want to end it too later on, whatever time we can end it with like a quick little meditation.
okay, cool.
And
That would be
quick shout
cool. Yeah, for
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, and quick shout out to in the meditation world. This is not a paid, obviously. Well, hopefully it's obviously because I'm really nobody, but um, not a paid promotion. But the app called Headspace, I've been using. It's a meditation app. I've been using that app for oh my goodness, almost 9 years now. I
Mhm.
used it when I was sleeping on a living room floor living in Los Angeles. When I had my first panic attack back in actually no, this is 2014. So almost 8 years ago. January, excuse me, oh, I just burped.
That's all right.
January, February of last year, or of 2014. And yeah, I've been using, there's 10 days for free, and I've been using that for, what is that, 8 years now? So
Yeah.
yeah, I highly recommend if you're looking for a regular meditation routine, download the Headspace app. Andy is my boy, and there's a bunch of other people you can listen to as well. But Andy's my favorite. He's got the coolest voice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, cannabis use and
Yes.
yoga,
Yes.
how do you use it to heighten your experience?
Yeah. So I've been personally, in my little Alex, just like personal world, I've been an avid cannabis user probably since I want to say actively since like 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I started doing yoga when I was 20. Let's see, I was 20, 22, I believe, maybe 23. And at that point I had, been regularly smoking and yeah, I pretty much, I was living in Los Angeles when I started doing yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and at 22 years old, I'm not really a smart person right now. I'm not saying that I'm smart, but I know better for sure. But I was getting pretty high, like often, um,
Mm-hmm.
back when I was like 22, at that age. And so it was a Tuesday night. I'll never forget it. When I went to this yoga class, it was the second yoga class I'd ever been to in my life. First one was junior year, like maybe sophomore year of high school. It was dry land swim team practice. But this time in Los Angeles, when I was taking my second yoga class, it was a Tuesday evening, and I'm pretty sure I was high. I can't remember that far back, but I'm pretty sure I was pretty stoned out of my mind because Tuesday nights were, and this is in Los Angeles in a little part called Westwood, which is where UCLA is. And I was just subleasing a room from a random UCLA student, and then I had three other roommates. So one of my roommates invited me to this like little student group, like there's like activity groups right at colleges.
Yeah.
So there's this one called Energy, Innergy. If you go to UCLA, I'm sure they still exist. Highly recommend that goddamn group because even before they introduced me to yoga, I was going to this group on Tuesdays. It was dope. It was
Yeah.
almost like therapy. But they had yoga one night, and goddamn, and I'll never forget the ladies who were teaching the class. It was just awesome, Like I remember it being a workout. I remember it being like, physically and like a mental workout as well. Because I remember being like, whoa, like they're making me just think in ways that I'd like not thought about this.
Right.
Like, and again, plain and simple. Like they made me think about moving my body and like thinking about my mind, like literally thinking about how I thought. They sort of like shifted my perspective in a sense. So it was pretty crazy. And that next day, I fucking signed up for LA Fitness, and I was, again, an active cannabis user. And I never really harnessed in like a, I don't want to, yeah, and I was gonna say I don't want to call it, but I will call it routine
Mhm.
when it comes to like utilizing cannabis before I go to a yoga class as a student. Um, so, again, from like 22, goodness gracious, I'm 29 right now. Let's see, 2000.
Spring chicken.
Yeah, fucking crazy. 29 right now. And let's see, I was 20. I'm trying to think. I'm so bad with time. Like always not always, but I'm usually in a fog when
You're
it comes
good.
to time, and especially right now because I'm pretty stoned right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you're fine.
um, let's see, almost 4 years I've been teaching yoga. So what's that? 25 is when I got my certification. Um, so during that time, like, you know, once I became a yoga instructor is when I like started to get my head on straight in regards to like, okay, like this is a direction that I want to go for a career, for like, helping people because that shit has helped me. And um, so like sort of like I guess give like a preliminary thing in regards to how I wanted to like approach teaching yoga was I know it's an I knew, and I always like have known that it's an intimidating practice or thing to get into for people. So I always wanted to make it like an approachable thing for people. When I taught a class. So
Right.
I remember just thinking like, all right, like I got to be on point for that shit. And so I started to get my head on straight. Definitely was still smoking a little bit too much, and even sometimes I still do smoke a little bit too much, but every time before I go to a class, and this is again from like 25, no, 24, no, 22 till about 25. When I was joining LA Fitness, when I lived in Los Angeles, I had moved back home during that time from 22 to 25, and I was going to yoga very regularly. And this, I want to say like at least three, sometimes even like six, on occasion 7 days a week, but like
Wow.
3 to 6 days a week, like regularly. And I wasn't doing any weightlifting, nothing crazy. I was just strictly doing yoga because it made me feel just awesome. Um,
Yeah.
I had a dog walking business, and my life sort of revolved around, I was living with my parents at the time, so it was like going home. I didn't have my own dog at the time, so like I had that little bit of freedom. So it
Hmm.
really revolved around like walking dogs, getting home, like it was free time, and then usually I would just get super stoned, get ready for yoga, and yeah, I would make it a whole ritual, like whether I was going to the coffee shop, and just having like a cup of coffee, of course getting caffeinated before I go to a yoga class. That was always the best. um, but I would always make sure that before I went in that I had like, and it literally was no more than 30, 45 seconds at a time. Whether I was like smoking a joint, like taking a couple hits,
Hmm.
hitting a weed pen, edibles. I love edibles, but
Yeah.
sometimes they really just don't fucking do it for me. Like they just won't do anything. Like I can eat 500 milligrams and I walk
You've
around like
built
nothing.
to tolerance.
But I don't think I haven't built a tolerance because I don't know. It was the last time I remember getting high. Sorry to go off track, but the
No, you're
last time I
good.
remember getting high, or getting high off an edible was freshman year of college, Westchester University. It was before, oh my gosh, it was like a home ec class. I forget what it was, sociology, something like that. But I remember we ate weed brownies, and just like they said, 45 minutes in, it was like, whoa, that thing just like literally reached in, grabbed my soul, and took me away. And ever since that moment, and I was, 19, maybe 20. Oh, no, 19, definitely 19. Um, never again did I get like crazy high off an edible. So
Hmm.
I would never really eat edibles. I never eat edibles before a yoga class because I'm like, I don't even want to bother. So I usually would just give myself like, I don't know, a solid like by myself, like whether it was like backseat of the car or like, I feel comfortable, if the setting is right, just right, right outside. Um, if I was walking, just hitting the joint on the street, and I would just give myself like that time right as I was getting, super stoned, and I would just tune in. I would just like take that deep breath in, deep breath out, and and this is maybe my favorite part of going to yoga. and I kind of miss this a lot, is I would just go in. I would say hi to people, but like I just like I think I would give off the vibe because in my mind I would be thinking this. I think I would give off the vibe, leave me alone. Like you know,
Yeah.
like hello, like hello everyone. Like a slight acknowledgement of like head nod, like hello, hello. But I would just go in and like throw my mat down, go use the bathroom, get my blocks, get a strap if I needed, a bolster. Nah, actually, I wouldn't get a bolster. Maybe a blanket. But yeah, I would. I have not gone to a studio class. I went to one. This is about 2 months ago. Um, I went with a friend and actually didn't get super stoned. Um, but yeah, usually it was just like it was always, and what it did for me, right, was like it definitely helped me just sort of like put those what do you call the blinders on, like the
Yeah.
for your peripherals, if you will. Because I'm pretty good at like I don't know, and I don't want to like toot my horn or nothing, but I think I'm pretty good like when it comes like setting by setting. Like if I need to turn it on, right? Like if I need to be like, okay, like hello, like I'm here, I'm aware. What do you need? What do you need me to do? I'm pretty good at that. But if I need to just like leave shit alone, I think I'm pretty good at that. I'm also pretty good at freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah. Me
So
too. That's what I'm
yeah,
pretty good at too.
yeah. So I'm pretty good at it all. Because I'm goddamn, I'm working. So, but
Yeah.
yoga for whatever reason, like I would be, I would be in the zone. Like I would be very comfortable. I would be nervous, like nervous. It was a nervous excitement because I knew, goddamn, this is not my word. These are not my words. These are someone else's words. But the post workout, the post yoga, post whatever you're doing, bliss, right? Like when that instructor would put us through this is my introduction to like this discipline, right? I spoke earlier, like
Yeah.
that instructor would like put us through this sequence and like definitely, and they would let me know, they'd let the whole class know, you have the choice to like opt into this or opt out. It's up to you if you feel comfortable, if you think, if you want to push yourself. And I always knew it was up to me. I was like, all right, like, and I always felt like I like I had the choice and the power and the you know just quite simply, the choices and the power to like figure it the fuck out. And that's
Yeah.
like that's when I go to yoga. That's sort of what I tell myself. I'm like, yo, figure this the fuck out. And if you, but like I'm also like, if you can't, like, okay, like take a step back, right? Like instead of freaking out, getting frustrated, and not even freaking out, but just getting frustrated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was always like, all right, like maybe they'll shout out a regression, maybe they'll shout out like a different way to. It was just like I knew, I knew, I knew at the end of that class, it was gonna be like it was gonna be cool. Everything was
Good.
gonna be cool. But yeah, issues, things I was thinking about, issues of the day, of the week, whatever. It was like could throw that all out the window. So
Nice.
yeah, so the cannabis really like that shit would lock it. It still does. It locks me in, and
Nice.
I get a little paranoid, like a little freaked out. But I've learned right through that, like, and I'm still learning for sure. Like I haven't fully learned, but from like that 22 to like 25 age range. And I'm not promoting. I'm not saying, hey, everyone go smoke weed when you're young. I'm not saying that, but like that's what I did. But I think from that age range, I think I did a lot of like experimenting, right? As like a lot of people do at whatever time of life. But I was able to like harness that in when I sort of realized, like when I realized I wanted to do the teacher training, and then come what was that 2016 and 17 when I started the training, that's when I was like, okay, like this shit matters. And so yeah, it really is like some people could call it a crutch, but it definitely is like an assist to like locking me in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get it.
And I do yoga unhigh, but I do it more high than unhigh when I'm practicing.
I feel that. Do you
Yeah.
follow Hinduism or anything like that because you're into yoga?
I do not. No. No, and that's one of the things like when I'm teaching a yoga class, and whenever I'm talking to anybody about yoga, and about me being an instructor. I follow, like the 8 limbs of yoga. Like I follow, the laws, the principles, right? Like the yamas, the niyamas, asanas, pranayama. But when it comes to like a formal practice, I don't follow anything formal when it comes to, you know, a religion. Well, I know it's not technically a religion, but when it comes to a culture, like I can't say that I study anything. Um, and I don't even use Sanskrit when I teach classes. That's one thing I try not to step on. And I don't even say that in regards to cultural appropriation. It's just plain and simple because I don't spend enough time looking into that stuff and practicing, what that is. What I do is more so like I mentioned, the principles, such as like the 8 limbs, and being true to what I like to classify as the the practice of discipline. And yoga has just been one of those ways to find that that practice for me. So
Yeah.
that's sort of where I go.
Nice. Do you ever do like chakra or Kundalini energy exercises in your classes?
So chakras, I don't. Um, so look, nothing ever against. I'm all about spirituality, and I think that looks different to everybody. At
Mm-hmm.
least I like to think it does. Um, Chakras is one of those things that I get. It's like I understand. I'm all about visualization. I love to picture things, but I don't. And it's not that I don't believe in it. It's just it doesn't resonate. So I don't quite dabble much in the chakra system. But I like to like the systems that each chakra represents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the pelvis, the colors and what they represent. I do really I resonate with that, but when it comes to the implementation, I like to keep it simple and focus on again, sort of like to take it back to the 8 limbs, on the yamas, the niyamas, the asanas, pranayama, as my 4 main components when I'm teaching. And
Okay.
sort of one of the ways that I like to do that, and this is like, and people are gonna hit me up for or call me out for Joe Rogan, but this is definitely a Joe Rogan reference. He likes to
Mm-hmm.
mention woo woo. He calls it woo woo. Um, and when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I was like, because I do think so. This is me going off the charts.
Right.
I do think some yoga instructors, and this is no knock on anybody, but I think sometimes they try to be like therapists, life coaches. I think they try to give lessons in regards to like how to be, what to do.
Yeah.
Um, one that that's like number one. What I try to stray away from. Another thing that I try to always tell people is like, hey, I'm here to suggest a sequence of poses and a couple of like methods for
Mm-hmm.
you to like sort of engage in that sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So the chakras again, I don't necessarily engage in them, but when it comes to like the crown chakra, or like the third eye chakra, um, you know, referencing like the mindfulness, I think one of the things with the crown chakra is like fulfillment, like feeling, spiritual. And I like to sort of, I guess the way that I resonate with that is setting intentions before a practice. So
Mm-hmm.
like, and if you've ever been to a yoga class, some teachers might say, hey, if you want to set an intention before your practice, go ahead, set an intention. I love setting an intention. Like sometimes I'll just think about like, I don't know, a family member, right? Who like, I don't know, maybe I didn't get to like text or call or see, this week,
Mm-hmm.
or I haven't talked, just like a, simple little like, hey, like, and this is just me in my mind, right? Saying to myself like, hey, I want to send them a little bit of love, like right now, right? Like I'm not gonna, you know, go crazy, but like it's just gonna be a simple little like, hey, I'm thinking about my sister or my nephew, and like I
Mm-hmm.
haven't talked to them in a while, or my mother, I haven't talked to them in a while. Let me just like, right, like send them a little love. So I'm all about like setting an intention, um, and yeah, like throat chakras, like creativity. I think with setting intentions, right? And through your post, like through the, again, all levels is one of my things. So I love to shout out different variations. I love to say, hey, like I get super fun, like I like to get a little silly. So I like to
Yeah.
be like, hey, we can go here, or we can go here, or here, your choice. But obviously, I like to give it a little more cueing than that. But yeah, the shower, use them just because me personally, I don't spend enough time studying them or reading on them. But I understand again, like what they're about, and why they use them, and they do make sense to me in regards to that. So
Nice. Can you give me an example of what type of workouts like that you have for your kettlebell exercises? Because it's
yeah,
completely different than yoga.
yeah. Oh my God, yeah. So once the kettlebells came into the mix, I was like, oh, this is, and then I say partially because there's a lot more that's come about since the kettlebells, but they were the part that came about where I was like, oh, like they're the ballistic, like yoga's like cool, calm, like through the chaos. Like I always explain in yoga, when I'm moving through poses, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm moving through chaos right now. Like I gotta like in a swift, cool, cool flowy manner. With kettlebells, you get like super ballistic. You get to toss those things. I always tell people that's where I get fuck yous out,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, yeah,
so
no, it does.
so yeah, so kettlebells. I'm running like a program, for whether it's a client, whether it's a small group. We usually do so when I'm conducting program for someone, it's going to be based on like what their goals are. But in general, when I'm doing like a class, like tomorrow evening, for example, I'll be doing a kettlebell flow class over at the local gym in Manayunk, Fire for Effect Athletics. And sort of how I break it down is we do a warm up drill. We do anywhere from like 3 to 4 warm up drills, usually stability and mobility based.
Hmm.
I'm a big believer. One of my kettlebell trainings, they talked about you can't have stability or mobility without stability. So I'd usually do like warm ups with like a stability mobility drills. And that usually runs like 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will hit like a skills. So like the kettlebell swings, the deadlift, and the thrusters, which are like a combination of movements that make it complex.
Hmm.
Um, so then we'll run like an EMOM, which is every minute on the minute, and that's more of like the strength and conditioning. So I like to sort of get everybody warmed with like some mobility, like technique stuff, like break it down like bit by bit, and then we hit that EMOM with like the whole like 12, anywhere from like 12 to 20 minutes we'll hit,
Yep.
and that's just like constant rounds, swings, thrusters, deaths, and then so like again tomorrow with our flow class, break it down into different parts, and the flow classes, they get super fun because it's little puzzles. So like I have tomorrow night's class broken down for like the meat of the exercise broken down into 4 different parts. Um, and it's just like a whole series to bring you to like a flow where you can do a series of movements that last anywhere from like 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minutes. Um, but yeah, I like to break everything down into like mobility and stability, then a skill set, and then we get into a flow, which we break down into like a 4 part series, which I guess can be considered like a skill, like another skill set breakdown. But that shit is like you have an external load, right, the kettlebell, and your body weight. So you got to like figure that thing out. And that was the other cool part. I was like, I got to figure out what the fuck I'm doing with this thing. This is a ball of weight with a handle on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to figure this shit out. So like, it's a cool way for me to just like, or it's just another puzzle. Like it's another puzzle thing to figure out. Um, and that's what I like. I like things to figure out. So
Yeah. Um, and then I also had a question about meditation. I don't ever ask questions in any particular order, by the way.
now it's all good.
um, so how do you, what kind of tips do you have for someone to have a successful meditation? Pretend I've never done it before.
hmm Yeah. So meditate. Um, I'm a big believer in using distractions. So I think not a lot of people, but I definitely thought that when I first got into the whole, I was like, oh, I was like, I definitely need to be like, no ifs, ands, or buts. I need to be somewhere where I'm not going to be disturbed, where like, nothing, right? I don't think that's always the case. I think number one, be safe. I think that is like priority. Um, so like if you're gonna meditate, definitely be in a safe space, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
always have to be a quiet space, but definitely be in a safe space. Um, so number one, be in a safe space. And I think while you're like sort of figuring out where you want to meditate and how you want to do it, um, seated, lying down, right, in a chair, on the floor. I always meditate lying foam rollers. I have an inclined little like back thing that reclines your back as you lie down. I have this whole setup for
Mhm.
meditation to like it's basically if you ever done yoga, a heart bench with two yoga blocks. I have a whole
Mhm.
setup with foam rollers, one yoga block, and this little inverted back support thing. So it's basically to like take off my body and just to decompress my spine, my joints, and that's how I do it because I don't get comfortable just sitting down for 10 minutes.
Right.
I probably need to practice that shit, but get comfortable. Like plain and like number two, like number one, find a safe space. Number two, get comfortable. Like make sure you're comfortable. Um, if you're gonna meditate on like in an uncomfortable position, chances are you probably won't stick with it. And I say that from experience. It has taken me a fuck ton of time to figure out a proper like just position for my body to
Mhm.
meditate. So um, get comfortable. Like be safe and get comfortable. And actually maybe take your time, right? Number one, be safe. Number two, take your time. Number three, get comfortable. Um,
Mhm.
so seated, whatever you should choose. And really, meditation is not about how long or how much attention you can, or time you can spend paying attention to your breath. But it's one of those things where you just are there to notice, quite simply. So I can't tell you how many things I fucking worry about, right? Like, and maybe of the 10 minutes, because I usually meditate at least one time a day, 10 minutes. Sometimes, if I'm lucky, two times a day,
Mhm.
10 minutes at a time, 20 minutes in total. Um, and I can't, maybe like 2 minutes of that time, if I'm lucky, um, is spent like really, like, you know, focused fully to the breath, not thinking about anything else, right?
Mhm.
So thoughts always come and go. So just know that. that's like that's that. Oh man, all this stuff is super key, but that's really key, is
Yeah.
to just know that like bug out, you're gonna freak. You might even freak out. That's what I had one of my first panic attack, lying on the floor in Los Angeles, little town called Palms. If you look up
Mhm.
Palms, it's a little on the map. It's a little fucking subsection of LA.
Mhm.
Remember I remember looking at the ceiling and thinking, "Oh my God, I'm in this little fucking subsection. I don't even know where I am." So like, but like again, meditation has helped me, and like I'm still working it out, but it's got me to a good place. But nonetheless, just keep coming back. And I think it's useful to sort of like when you're meditating, to put your attention anywhere. So like, not just to like your breath in and your breath out, but maybe to like if you're holding on to tension, right?
Mhm.
Body. So like lying down, when I'm lying down, I always notice if like my hip is tight or like if I'm like flexing my ankle. So like a release in your foot, could help the hip release. A position in the hand could ease off the neck or the shoulder. Um, so it's a good way to like sort of get information flowing, if that makes
Mhm.
sense,
Yeah.
through the body, like through the body and through the mind. Um, and like I don't know about anybody else, but my mind is usually in a weird spot. So like if you're in a weird spot, once you again start practicing, like getting to know your breath, like it's a pretty cool thing. Like it's pretty dope. Um, and you don't need to get high, honestly. Like before you meditate, you can get
Yeah.
like a pretty dope buzz on. Uh, meditate. Like before I drink coffee in the morning, um, I try. I don't do it all the time. Try to get my meditation in though before I do my coffee. And sometimes I don't even want my coffee after my meditation. I'm cool. And I have I got like a fiend mentality sometimes for some things. Like I'm always like, I used to take Adderall in high school for about 30 days, for about a month. Holy
Mhm.
shit. Oh my God. Like, I think about that, right? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
whew, that would be awesome right now. Um, but I know that that's not a good, healthy thing to do. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
For me. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it was I had an unhealthy relationship, me personally. Not saying it's unhealthy for everybody, but yeah,
I did
it's
too.
like,
I did too. I used it incorrectly, I think.
yeah. What was it? If you don't mind me asking, what was your experience like? Mine was fucking crazy. I'll tell you mine if you want, but if you don't want to answer, that's fine too.
No, it's all good. I just was like, I lost a ton of weight. I think I was like
Yeah.
117 pounds at one point. I was never hungry. I had no libido. I was angry. Like I was like
Yeah.
this skinny, angry person. It was just not. I would shit every time I ate.
I feel.
Like literally, it was like I would just shit my brains out every time I ate. I'm like, it was it was intense. And then like when I decided I was gonna stop it, I was like totally different person.
Yeah, that shit is fucking crazy. It's basically meth. Um, again, it's not like I'm not saying for everybody, but yeah, I had same thing with me. Like in high school when I lost the appetite, dropped a couple pounds or a bunch of pounds, and it wasn't like unmanageable, but I saw myself teetering, right? Like I was like all hype all the time, just like
Yeah.
let's go. And then I just saw on Netflix actually a few months ago, maybe it was a year ago, I don't know, but it was World War II in color, and I had known that um, from a friend like via probably a podcast, probably the fucking Joe podcast. I forget where I heard this, but the um the Nazis were on fucking meth. You know? Did you
Yeah,
ever
I
know?
think I saw something about that too.
Yeah. And as soon as I saw it on this World War II in color, I think that's the show was on Netflix. I remember sitting there and I remember thinking, oh my God. Like when I was on a 30 milligram Adderall senior year of high school, I you nobody was telling me nothing. I could do whatever, like in my mind, right? Anything.
Mhm.
It was wild. So I saw that and I was like, wow. I was like, okay. I was like, now I definitely will never do that shit again because yeah, it was just wild.
Yeah,
But
same.
but yeah, I don't know how I got down that rabbit hole. Um,
It
but yeah,
happens.
yeah. But to come,
So before we end with the meditation, where can our friends find you on the internet?
ooh, yeah. So right now, I am only social media platforms at Word Life Yoga on Facebook, Instagram. I do have a active on Twitter. I think that's the goddamn Wild Wild West, and it's just another thing. I'm a one man show. It's just me over here, so that's I don't social media. The pandemic, and I'm not complaining, but the pandemic made me start getting my Instagram and Facebook up and running again. So
Yeah.
I'm on those platforms, and I've been posting fairly regularly. But you can find me on there. I haven't been doing much streaming, but I have been discussing with a couple of people. I'm in the currently in the mix of rebranding, and I've also been discussing with people the possibility of creating an app. So I might
Oh,
look into that. That is a fucking undertaking. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting thing, but that wouldn't be for a long while. So don't get your hopes up if you even have your hopes up, which don't think anybody has their hopes up. But nonetheless, yeah, just Instagram right now is like the best way to find me. And I'm a hobbyist. Like I'm an athlete. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a kettlebell instructor. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm a hobbyist. You know, I'm fucking in a reggae band. So we just played a show this time. So I'm doing like a bunch of shit, and I basically just post on the Word Life Yoga Instagram all the stuff that I'm doing, and there are free on there from the past. So
Mm-hmm.
scroll down that page if anyone's interested. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the best place. I do have a website, wordlifeyoga.com. But again, rebranding, I have not updated that in quite some time, so feel free to check it out, but you'll see some old shit on there.
That's okie
Yeah.
dokie.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then I guess if you would be so kind to end out on a minute meditation maybe for us.
Ooh, let's do it.
All right, cool.
All right. So if you're listening in, right, I'm not going to say make sure, but if you can, right, find a safe, quiet space, right? If you're seated, if you're if the option of lying down, right, is available to you, maybe go lie down, right? But wherever you may be, right, whatever position you may be in, right, just get yourself comfortable. Right? And if you're lying down, right, to the floor, if the legs are long, right, let the heels, the toes release out to the side, right? Maybe the legs a little bit wider than the hips if it's comfortable. Right? Give the hips a little bit of release, and your attention, right, can be brought to the hips, down the thighs, right, to the knees, calves and shins, again to the heels and the toes. And just let the lower limbs, right, the lower body release, relax. Right, from the hips, the belly, the low back, shoulders, the arms, right, even the muscles in the face. Right, everything relaxes to the floor. And if you're seated, right, through the sit bones, right, gentle press to the floor. Right, if you're cross-legged or kneeling, again, a little body scan, right, from the toes, right, to the knees, again up to the hips, and again, if you're seated, lengthening through the tailbone, up through the crown of the head, right? Maybe the heart leads forward, the shoulders roll back and down, right? And it's almost like, right, the shoulder blades, right, hug the upper spine just below the neck, right, tucking to the back pockets. A gentle tuck, right, back and down. Slight engagement. Hands rest into the lap, right, maybe to the thighs, to the knees. Palms can shine open or closed. And as you bring attention, right, not only to your alignments, right, through the spine, but again to the muscles in the face, right, around the eyes, the jawline. If the eyes are open, you can slowly start to close. Right, and as you find a rhythm of your breath, inhaling through the nose, pausing at the top of the breath, and then just exhaling completely. Slight little pause at the bottom of the breath, and then just continuing, right, a pattern as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Right, fill the lungs completely with air, right, as you breathe in and as you exhale, right, completely emptying the lungs. Continue your rhythm, right, your pattern, and perhaps drawing a little attention, right, little focus. If there's any tension through the body, right, maybe the hips releasing through the foot. And again, a full deep breath in and a full exhale out. And as you're ready to start, right, bringing awareness just back to your space. Maybe a little movement through the fingers, right, through the wrists, right, through the ankles, through the toes. And you can, of course, just stay where you are. And if you're on your back, you can find a full body stretch. Arms can reach overhead. Point the toes forward. Spin the thumbs to the floor. Pinkies up high. If you're seated, right, you can stay where you are. Right, and just slowly opening the eyes as you are ready. And as your breath, right, may keep you in your present moment, may we all go in the direction of our peace. Thank you. I will conclude this evening's meditation.
That was awesome. Thank
Thank you.
you so much, Alex. This was so much fun. I'm
Oh, you're welcome.
so glad I got the chance to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks. This was great. It was really a pleasure to speak with you as well. And I hope people enjoy. I hope everybody enjoys the talk. I had a good time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Kate. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
See ya.
Bye. All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I hope you feel super fucking relaxed because I gotta tell you, I do. Tune in next week for a super awesome guest as well. Thanks for listening, guys. Ciao, baby.